Okay. So hello, everyone. Welcome. I know it's Friday of orientation week and it's been a long, long week. I get it. Get it. So we're going to have to get through today, our orientation week. And then I'm thinking most of you are taking peds and med surge too. Others may be taking mental health, leadership. Okay. Charmaine, can you come on camera, please?
I'm in the restroom right now. I'll be there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Um,
Okay.
okay, so I think that's most of you are peds and med surge too, and others probably have some other different classes. I had sent in announcement early on last week, or I think I sent it in an email. If anybody's repeating a re-entry or has accommodations, if you already haven't let me know, please let me know if you're in any of those categories, okay? So welcome to week one. Welcome to Concepts in Community-Based Nursing. Um, I'm Professor Marvel. Happy to have you all here on a Friday afternoon. I think we have 22, maybe 23 students. So it's going to be a pretty full class. So um, I have a couple of questions here at the beginning, and then we do have to go through I know you've already gone through the PowerPoint probably a few times this week. So I still have to go through it. Every faculty has to go through it with their new class. So I'll try and go through it a bit more quickly. Is there anybody who hasn't gone through the PowerPoint in your other classes this week? Okay. So you've seen the information, but I do need to go through it. And then we'll go through the syllabus, show you how the class is set up. And then I want to go into the modules and point out a few things, a few assignments, and the way the modules are structured. Hopefully by this point, everybody has completed their syllabus and technology quiz, because if you haven't been able to get into the shell. And we already had our first discussion question initial posting due on Wednesday. Most of you got it in. And for the few that didn't, I sent you a message. So to start out with, I always like to start out, what have you heard about this class?
Before we start that, I wanted to just bring to your attention, you know that I just got into your shell today.
Mhm.
So I got on maybe 30 minutes ago and I went in and did my discussion board one. I have not done my replies, but I just wanted to let you know because it's
Okay.
going to show late on my
Okay,
end.
why don't you send me an email about that, Casey, okay?
Okay.
Thanks. So tell me about what you've heard about this class.
I heard that it was kind of difficult.
Okay. Any particular reason why?
I'm not really sure. Just the people
Okay.
ahead of me said that it was pretty difficult.
What else have people heard?
A lot of writing.
A lot of writing. Okay. What else? Oh, wow, nobody really? Okay. Well, that's good news. That's good news. Why do you think this course is at the end of your program? Why do you think community nursing is at the end of your program?
To prepare us for the actual role in nursing.
What else? I don't like to call on students. I don't. I like a participatory group. I don't like to
Maybe
listen to
like
myself talk for an hour and a half.
because like we can kind of put together with everything else that we've learned throughout.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Lindsay's spot on. Okay, so the reason this course is put at the end of the program is when you think about community nursing, you have the acute care nursing and you have community nursing. Most of you have been focused on acute care, right? Through your previous classes and your clinicals, right? But community nursing is the same type of skills. You're just providing them in the community. Okay, so you need your med-surg skills, you need your pediatric skills, you need your geriatric skills, your fundamentals, your maternity. Because in community, your clients are across the whole lifespan, from infants all the way up to the elderly, right? And so you need all your basic knowledge from your other classes to come into the community. The biggest thing that students struggle with is the shift in mindset of shifting from the acute care setting into the community. Think of your own community where you live in now. Okay? Think of all the different venues, places where community nursing happens. Where does community nursing happen?
Everywhere.
Be specific,
Hospitals,
not community nursing. Hospitals are acute care. So beyond that,
At schools,
schools, the workplace, right? Occupational nursing in the workplace, school nursing, medical office buildings, right? Urgent cares, dialysis centers, hospice centers, rehabilitation centers. Anything, any venue that's providing healthcare in the community. You may be a public health nurse, immunization nurse, school nurse, occupational nurse, environmental nurse, hospice nurse, home health nurse, right? Just think about your community and all the people that need care in your community in all the different settings. That's the umbrella of community nursing. So the biggest challenge is a mindset shift from acute care. You have to think of yourself out in your community, providing care. Oh, also correctional facilities, right? Those are all areas out in the community.
I feel like I've seen you before. Like,
Pardon me?
I told you I thought you went to school with me or something.
Okay. Okay, so before we do the PowerPoint, so I am Professor Marvel. I have my instructor page set up. My community background, well, actually, I started back in the 80s. I just crossed 40 years of nursing. I started as a military nurse in the Navy, as a Navy nurse for 10 years. Then I went to a big hospital in the Denver area and was the director of Women's and Children's Services, NICU, PICU, OB, antepartum, L&D. And then I just retired from the schools. I was in school nursing for 20 something years. So that's where I got all my community and public health experience. Okay. So I retired from the schools a couple of years ago, and this is my 4th year with Fortis. I love teaching this community class. I love to. I call this part of my career the give back. All right. I am here to educate you, to try and give back some of my experience, my knowledge, my strategies and encouragement as you all go forward and become the next generation of nurses. Okay. I love teaching community and public health. I currently live in a very rural area up in northwestern Wisconsin. And so I'm very familiar with the public health in the rural setting, which is part of community nursing as well. We do a whole section on rural nursing. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we get into the orientation PowerPoint? We're going to go through everything. Okay. The other thing to start out with is this class is 1 hour and 40 minutes. If you're okay with not taking a break, we can do this in 1 hour and a half. Is that agreeable to everyone? Okay.
Yes.
So the class starts at 4, so we should be done by 5:30. And that's if I stay on track. Okay. All right, let's do the PowerPoint first, get that out of the way, and then we'll go in and talk about the class structure. Okay? Let me make sure I have everybody's campus here. Destiny, what campus are you from?
Scranton.
Pardon me?
Scranton.
Scranton, thanks. I don't get my rosters until like week 2, and I like to ahead of time. What about Bridget? What campus?
Centerville.
Centerville, thanks. Oh, I think that's it. Okay, great. All right, I'm gonna share my screen, pull up the PowerPoint. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, great. Fantastic. All right, so by this point in your program, you know what online learning is. Okay? Obviously, this is computer, internet access. The our interaction is our 2-hour class live every week. And then we interact throughout the term, whether it's tutoring, one-on-one meetings, exam reviews, my goal, my job is to provide you guidance throughout the term. Okay, as you go through doing your assignments, doing your exams, doing your quizzes. I like to give feedbacks on all the assignments, so you'll get that from me. Okay, this class includes weekly homework assignments. We do online learning activities in class. Okay, whether it's a case study or a research project, towards the end of class, we break out into groups in breakout rooms and do activities. All right, you are required to complete all of your work each week on time. Okay, we have lots of different campuses. You're going to meet when you get into your groups and do your group project, which I'll talk about later. You're going to meet students from all different locations. We have Centerville, Columbus, Scranton, Richmond, Norfolk, Cincinnati. We have lots of different campuses in this class, which is great. Okay, my contact information is in my instructor bio page. My email, my personal phone number. Okay, I have no problem with you calling me or texting me. Just identify who you are. So, it's hard for it when I just get a number and a message. So just say who you are, maybe what class you're in, but I have no problem with you using my personal cell phone. I'm good at returning calls, good at returning texts. Okay, as I said, I'll continue to provide you feedback throughout the course of how you're doing and give you suggestions for improvement. Okay, we talked about my experience. Online course is professional. It's a professional setting. Communication is to be respectful at all times. I don't typically have any issues with etiquette at all. I will never call you out in class. I will never single you out. If I need to speak with you one-on-one, I'll send you a message and we'll meet after class or we'll set up a Zoom to meet. Okay. Slide 4 is an important slide to have. It gives the content. Well, here's another place for my contact information. It's also inside your module in my instructor page, but it's also here on slide 4. Okay, I'm also the course lead for this community program. There's 2 other instructors, Professor Ford and Professor Kershaw. Okay, and I'm the course lead for all of the sections. Here's Dean Brown's information. I would maybe just screenshot this slide and keep it handy for my contact information and Dean Brown's. If you have questions with regards to clinicals, labs, sims, schedule, books, those are all campus related questions. I can't really help you with those. Feel free to ask the questions. If I can answer them, I will. If not, I'm going to redirect you back to campus. Okay. I sent you one of the announcements I sent at the beginning was on online etiquette. Okay, this is just a kind of a summary of that. stating your thoughts in a courteous, positive, respectful manner. Be mindful how you express humorous or emotional statements. Sometimes these can be misinterpreted. Keep your comments relevant to the discussion topic. Be considerate of others' experiences, feelings, and perspectives. Use proper language and titles. Okay, do not message in all caps. Typically that signals that you are yelling. This course is the same time every week, Fridays, 4 p.m. Eastern to 5:30 or 5:40. Okay, so it is mandatory, just like your on-ground classes, that you attend every week. The course includes discussions, which you already know about, projects, papers, case studies, quizzes, and exams. There are no CJ Sims in this class. And we'll talk about CJ Sims in a bit here. As it states in your modules, your discussion questions, the initial post is due on Wednesday evenings. And then your two peer responses by Sunday. If you don't submit your initial post, you don't get credit for that part of the rubric, but you certainly can get credit for the peer responses part of the rubric. Okay, and the nice thing about this class is we have 2 discussion questions and they're in weeks 1 and 2. So only this week, which is already passed, Wednesday's already passed, and next week on Wednesday, will you have a Wednesday due date. Everything else is due on a Sunday. Okay. Academic integrity, really important. Academic integrity entails all incidences. If there is academic dishonesty and violation, it is disciplined. Okay. Some examples: cheating, plagiarism, unauthorized use of notes, forging assignments, unpermitted collaboration, giving or receiving aid on take-home exams. Okay, we don't have take-home exams, but allowing others to copy your work, providing answers, or receiving answers from graded assignments to others. So if you have peers that are in earlier sections in the week and they're providing you, I try and change up the quizzes, but there are some questions that are the same. You shouldn't be accepting any feedback, any answers or information about that. Okay. Code of ethics. What is our code of ethics? It comes from the American Nurses Association. It applies to us individually as nurses and as a profession as a whole. The code of ethics is our values, ethical values, obligations, duties, professional ideals, both individually and collectively. All right, these are non-negotiable ethical standards. Back to academic integrity. So these are the sites, and I'm going to jump to the bottom bullet first. Examples: StuDocu, Course Hero, Stuvia. I can tell you, honestly, these sites are being monitored. They're being monitored by online leadership as well as campus leadership. Okay, so using these sites does not promote honor, ethics, integrity. All right, being found on these sites is going to kind of put a red flag next to your name for monitoring more closely your work for academic integrity violations. Don't reference these sites when you're submitting work. Okay, it's going to result in a 0 for the assignment. And certainly a second incident in these sites is going to found on these sites is going to result in a course failure. Right? So utilizing these sites, in summary, utilizing these sites is going to put you at risk from being dismissed from the program. Okay? And I gave you the examples of the ones we're talking about. Late work policy. Everybody should be familiar with the late work policy. Okay, it's the same. It hasn't changed. It's been like this throughout the whole term, throughout your whole program. Okay, if you're going to be late, you got to let me know. Okay, if you don't let me know, you don't get access to the week, the additional week with the 10% deduction. That's why this is in red here. You have to contact your instructor if you're going to be late. Okay, if you have contacted me, that's great. We'll work something out. You have up to 7 days to turn it in. After the 7th day, I can't accept anything. And I'm very flexible to work with. I can flex where I can, where I have some wiggle room, but there's certain things I can't be flexible on. And one of these is the late policy and contacting me first. Okay? Attendance. You guys all know the attendance policy. Attendance is recorded every week. I get a report at the end of every class. It goes through all the students who were in the class, what time they arrived, what time they left, if they came late, if they left early, if they were in and out during the class. All that is tabulated in this report. And then I submit the report to your registrar after every class. Okay, so this is the official record that goes into your file. Okay, when you're present, sign in with your full names, be on camera the whole time. I usually spot check a couple of times during the class to make sure everybody's on camera, but everybody should be on camera. Okay. You can't be in your car. This is one of those areas I cannot be flexible with. You can't be in your car as a driver, as a passenger, pulled over to the side of the road, listening to class. You have to be someplace at school, home, library. Okay, so if you're in your car, I will ask you to remove yourself until you get to where you're going and can log on. Attendance is recorded in 15-minute increments. So if you're a minute late for class, I have to dock you 15 minutes. If you're 16 minutes late for class, I have to dock you for 30 minutes. And the report that I get has to match what I submit. So even if it's a minute late, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but the report's going to show that you're a minute late, and I'm responsible for subtracting 15 minutes out of your time. Anyone without posting attendance 14 days in a row will be dropped without notification. Okay. There's no makeup for missed attendance. Okay. So if you miss a class, I have to mark you absent. You can't say, I'll come to your Monday class. You can come to my Monday class if you want to hear the content live. That's fine. But if you weren't at today's class, you have to be marked absent. Now, if there's an emergency, of course, emergencies happen. Things come up. I get it. Provide me documentation. Okay, and what I do is I still have to mark you absent, but I send that documentation on to Dean Brown. Does that make sense? Attendance is taken daily, turned over to the registrar, 15 minutes, we went through that. Attendance is maintained with the registrar, we went through that. Yeah, this is that 5%, 10%, 15, 20% of absences. Okay, it can add up quickly. If you're somebody who's chronically late, it's going to add up quickly. If you're somebody who misses classes, it's going to add up quickly. At 5%, you get a letter in Campus View. 10%, we have to meet. I'll already be contacting you if you're near 10%. And we'll try and talk about what's going on and how I can help support you. Once you get to 15 or 20%, once you get to 20%, you're going to get dropped a whole letter grade at the end of the term. Okay, so the level of intervention will be reliant upon the amount of time missed. Okay, you're going to get plenty of warnings before 20%. Hopefully you're already practicing these 7 key steps to success this late in your program. You're reviewing what's due each week. You're completing your reading assignments. attending live sessions, reading the rubrics before you start assignments, completing all the assignments, and studying, completing exams and quizzes. I post a lot in the announcements because this is really my only way to communicate with you. So I would suggest logging on 4 to 5 times a week at least. You're going to get a weekly announcement from me every weekend. I try to send them out. I'm going to be trying more diligently to be sending those out on Saturday. I know you guys aren't class till Friday, but I have a Monday class and I have a Tuesday class. So I need to get that information out to the students early in the week over the weekend, so they have time to prepare for the quizzes. Okay, so you're a little bit later in the week, so you have some time to digest that announcement. Okay, submit all assignments when they're due. Towards the end of each week, reviewing what's due next week. Do not procrastinate. Keep in contact with me. So one of the most important things with me is communication. I've been a nurse long enough and work with all different kinds of populations and areas of nursing. Communication is key. Okay, not just with me during the next 12 weeks, but communication is critical in your nursing profession. Okay, so if there is anything that is preventing you from being successful in this class, you have got to let me know. I don't mean to be nosy or in your business, okay? But you have to let me know if something's going on that's preventing you from taking an exam, a quiz, coming to class, getting your homework done. Please, please, please reach out to me. Okay, communication is key. All right, make sure you have a reliable internet connection, computer and laptop. If you don't have a reliable internet connection, you're going to need to make arrangements to go to class or maybe participate in class on campus. For exams, you're going to probably want to plan on taking them on campus. Okay, but it's up to you to secure a stable internet connection. Maintaining a schedule for completing your schoolwork. This is critical this term. This is one of your heavier terms in your program especially for the students in Med-Surg 2 and Peds. Whatever system you use for planning and organizing and time management, please make sure that is all ready to go. I'm sure that your heads are ready to explode this week already with all the classes you've attended, trying to put all the homework, assignments, when are quizzes, when are exams, when are review sessions. Your calendar is going to be full. So try and take some time this weekend and pull together all the classes you've been to this week and start to get everything organized. All right, because you're gonna, especially this term. Okay, try and identify a quiet place free from distractions for class, for exams, for quizzes. And then obviously read all your assignments carefully. You should have already done this already, day one. Okay, you've all opened your courses. I'm not sure if you've clicked on the information about me. But write down my contact information. Live faculty support hours. I always put on the syllabus cover sheet that you got as an announcement. I always list my office hour as the hour before class. I just do that standard across the board. If anybody wants to meet with me during that time, just shoot me an email and I'll come on early. Otherwise, as you'll find out real quickly, I'm available to meet with you anytime, any place. Okay, I'm really open. I trying to meet less on the weekends to just try and take a break on the weekends. But if it's the only time you can meet, of course I'll meet with you. I can meet with you early in the morning, during the day, in the evening. Okay, so I know I have that one office hour listed, but it's wide open. All right, so I'll be available for you guys all term. I suggest you print or save the course syllabus. We'll go through that in a minute. Textbooks, we'll go through that when we get to the syllabus. You got to make sure you have access to all 3 textbooks that go with this class. Unfortunately, there's not a PN community book. And the 3 books we have in this class, you should already have in your library. You should already have your fundamentals book in your library, your med-surg book in your library, and your intro to maternity and peds in your library. So if you don't, we got to get that sorted out now. If you have questions, you're missing something, contact me. Come to class prepared to discuss concepts. When we go through the announcements, modules, you're going to have a couple of things to prepare for every class. You are going to have a concept recording. Professor Kershaw, Professor Ford, and I rotate those concept recordings, so you'll have 3 from each of us. So Professor Kershaw did week 1. Professor Ford, you'll have one this upcoming weekend for week 2 content. They'll do 3, and then so on. So you'll always have a content recording, which is kind of a sneak preview, synopsis of concepts we're going to be covering. Along with the concept recording, you'll also have a PowerPoint, okay, that I'll pull up during class and we'll follow along, and that's how we go through class. Okay. And then the other thing I've provided you, I call it student notes. I think that's the way it's labeled. What the student notes is, if you haven't already noticed, it's actually the PowerPoint broken out. It put in a different format. It gives you lines on the right-hand side so you can take notes. That's what student notes means. Schedule tutoring sessions when needed. We just kind of talked about that. If you're having technical difficulties in logging in, you're going to have to contact IT. I can't help you with that. I don't know what the issue would be with you trying to log in. But if you look under student resources, you guys have a lot of resources in your student support and student resource. You have a lot of support in your student resource section. Review sessions, we'll go through that. I sent you out a term review session in, I think, your week 1 announcement. This is all the days and the times that Professor Kershaw, Professor Ford, and I provide exam reviews and HESI reviews. Okay, there's always going to be 3 live exam reviews the week before each exam, and then there will be 3 HESI reviews the week before HESI, and I'll show you that in a bit. This is kind of a blurred version. It's much more clear in the syllabus of what our course entails. We have 3 exams. HESI will have 5 quizzes, each worth 1%. Okay, that's how we get to the 80% is KGA. Okay, the rest is homework. You have 4 sets of NCLEX questions. You'll have a vulnerable populations project that's worth 5%. A HESI prep assignment that's worth 5%. We'll go through those. You have 2 case studies that are through Evolve. Discussion questions, you'll have 2, and then you'll have 1 group project. Can you hear that? Is that too loud? Let's see if I can. 1 second. Hang on. Maybe. Sorry, I'm trying to get that background noise. Okay. It'll be gone in a minute. Discussion questions, we have 2 of them, and then you're gonna have 1 group project that's due in week 7 that we'll talk about when we get to the syllabus. So that's your 20% of your homework. Weeks 1 through 5, I won't have the homework grades on, okay? But in weeks 6 and 7, I will turn the homework grades on so you can see how your homework is impacting your overall score. Okay, and that's because week 8 is drop week. Okay, so your homework grades will be on. Now, if you are doing well in homework, it's going to bump you up. But if you haven't turned in assignments or you're doing poorly in homework, that's going to pull your grade down. This is not a class that you want to be a homework fail. Okay, there's not that much to do in this class. Okay, and you all know about at the end of the term, your KGAs have to be 78%. Okay, before your homework kicks in. So at the end of your 3 exams, your 5 quizzes, and your HESI, you have to have a 78 for your homework to kick in. Everybody knows about this, right? Okay. 2 devices. You have to have 2 devices for the exams. As far as quizzes, I'm okay with you taking the quiz on your laptop because it has to be proctored anyway, and you're right in front of me. Okay, but definitely 2 devices for your exam. Okay, same as every other term. Okay, nothing's changed for exams. Okay, we're gonna have 5 quizzes. We take the quizzes at the beginning of class. Okay, this allows me some insight of concepts you might be struggling with, right? It requires you to come prepared for class. And the way you prepare for class, so I developed the quizzes, and the quizzes are developed from the content recordings, the PowerPoints, and your readings. So if you're doing all those 3 prior to class, you're going to do fine on the quizzes. I don't want you to worry about those, but you got to be preparing for class. Okay, so we take those right at the top of the hour, and I've already sent you announcements about what week the quizzes are in and what weeks they will cover. So for example, next week is your first quiz in week 2. That's going to cover weeks 1 and 2 material. Okay. 1 attempt on the quiz, 15 minutes. Obviously submit. You got to stay on camera since it's a proctored activity, since it's KGA, right? If it's just like exams. If you're not on camera for quizzes or exams, you're gonna have to take a 0. And then there's no makeup for quizzes. Okay, unfortunately, even if it's an emergency, you have documentation, the quizzes are just not made up. But think about it. Quizzes are worth 5%. Each quiz is worth 1% of your 20% quizzes are worth 1% each, and they're tied into your 80% of KGA. So it's not earth-shattering if you miss a quiz. Okay, now at the end of the term, if you're super close to the 78, it may make a difference. So please come to class, please. Okay. Exams, absolutely nothing new with exams. When I get the practice exam, probably next week in ExamSoft, I'll send you an email and I'll open up the practice exam for you to go in and take. That's to have a look at your compatibility with your computers with ExamSoft. So definitely if you have a new device or you just want to check to make sure everything is compatible with ExamSoft, I would highly suggest you take that practice quiz. It only takes a few minutes. Okay. Accommodations. If you are a student with accommodations, you need to get me that paperwork so I can get it to Dean Brown. It doesn't automatically transfer from term to term. It has to be reapproved every single term. Okay. And your accommodations, your extra time is already factored into your quizzes. It's already factored into ExamSoft. Okay, exams are taken on your scheduled time. So you'll be taking your exams and your quizzes during this class time on Friday afternoons. If you would like to take your exams on campus with a proctor, which is no problem at all, I have students every term who take exams on campus with proctors. You've got to you've got to give me at least 72 hours notice with the proctor's name and a contact. All right, so I can reach out to that proctor, also get approval from the campus dean, and have time to reach out to the proctor to confirm everything. And if there's a group of you taking the exam on campus with the same proctor, I need to hear from every student. There has to be documentation from every student that's going to be taking the exam on campus. Okay, so you can't email me and say 10 of us are taking the exam with so-and-so. I need to hear from all 10 students. Again, nothing is different from exams from last term. Please, though, have a whiteboard or a screen protector, no paper. No calculators. When I ask to do a 360, if I see a calculator, I'm going to ask you to put it away since there's a calculator built into ExamSoft. Missed exams is the same thing. We follow this like late work. Okay.
Why are we allowed to use paper?
Pardon me?
Why aren't we allowed to use paper?
Why aren't you allowed to use paper? Well, you haven't been allowed to use paper your whole program.
We
have.
Yes, we have. As one exam.
Yeah, we
that's
use
scrap
paper and we use our own calculators.
We use papers.
Okay, okay. So going forward with this class, there's a calculator in ExamSoft, and you'll have to get a whiteboard. I tell students to go to the dollar store, pick up a small whiteboard, and use that. Okay, you're just not allowed to use paper anymore. And if there are classes that you have been using paper and your own calculators, please let me know. Because this isn't my policy. And have you reviewed this with other classes this week? And have you gone through this with your other classes and what's being said?
Yeah, but they ain't say that we couldn't use paper or our own calculators.
Really? Okay.
They just said that they need to see both sides of it. That's how it's been.
Yeah, that's what they do, make us show them both sides of the paper. And then
It's been
some
like
of them
that
make
for all
us hold our
terms.
calculator up to show them that too.
Yeah, I definitely no calculators. That's absolutely for sure no calculators. But I would appreciate it if you would. That's just our Fortis policy is the no paper. Okay, need to get a whiteboard. Exams missed, subject to the late policy. Now again, I can't do anything after you've taken the exam. If there are issues, like I said, that are preventing you from being successful in the class, you got to reach out before the exam. If there's a personal reason you can't take the exam on Friday, well, you got to reach out and let me know. Well, we have to get the exam scheduled within a week. So the following Friday, but you'll have to take a 10% deduction. Now, if you have an emergency and have a doctor's note or whatever documentation you have, right, we can schedule the exam within the week without the late 10% deduction. Okay? But again, you got to let me know before. And that's what this slide is about. Contacting me with issues that prevent you from being successful, I can work with you. I can't work with you if you contact me after to tell me about something that was going on when you did poorly on the exam. I can't do anything after. Okay? My goal is for all of you to be successful this term. All right? It requires communication, communication, and communication. We went through the quizzes. Any technical issues during your quizzes or exams, please stop and let me know, and we'll try and problem solve what's going on. And that's pretty standard across the board with any quizzes that you're taking. Your HESI, in this class, we do one HESI, one attempt. You'll have an assigned, it's just like last term, you'll have an assigned date that you take it on campus, usually around week 8. I'll try and pull up the master schedule and give you all a heads up on when your campus is offering the community HESI. Okay, the community HESI is worth 20%. Obviously, the benchmark for the exam is 900 or higher. I'll be sending this out again as we get prepared to take the HESI. This is remediation hours based on your HESI score. This is no different than last term. Exam security, I'll be asking you to show your photo ID. Your camera needs to be on at all times, full face visible at all times. Contact me if you have any problems or if you would just like some, pardon me, additional help. Homework. I'm assuming you're all planning, prioritizing, completing work, and submitting work. For you to have come this far in the program, I'm sure you're all doing a fantastic job at all these 4 steps. Okay, if you have any issues with any of these steps or want to talk about strategies or get my input, please feel free to reach out, please. This is an example of pulling your assignments off the syllabus and putting them onto a calendar. Like I said earlier, whatever works for you, whether it's a phone calendar, paper calendar, computer calendar, but you need to have some sort of an organizational system, especially this term. We already went through late work, NCLEX. Okay, the weeks that you have NCLEX, in the first page of your module, it lists the categories, the subcategories that you need to select. Everybody knows what I mean by that, right? Okay, they're already listed right in your module. Please select 50 questions. I can't accept 2 25s or 5 10s. I can only accept one block of 50. Okay? As far as NCLEX, please access your NCLEX through your module, through the link in your module. If you go through the main Evolve site, it's going to only provide you a screenshot, and I can't accept a screenshot. No screenshots can be accepted. I need the full PDF version, which is usually 10 to 16 pages. Okay? And I'm sure you all know this by now, but you can do your NCLEX as many times as you want. You can only submit it once. So my suggestion is that you submit somewhere between a 45 and a 50. Okay, let's say you start out doing it and you get a 20. My suggestion is to go back and reread, remediate the questions you got wrong, redo it, and then let's say you get a 30, remediate again, and just keep going until you get up to that 45. There's a reason we have you do 200 NCLEX questions during the term. These are practice for your sitting for your NCLEX, for your boards. Okay, so I always believe that rationales and remediation are fantastic ways to learn. So I hope you take your NCLEX questions and really get the most out of that assignment. Let's see. Screenshots not acceptable. Here's where it says 50 questions. Yeah, 50 questions, one block of 50 questions. HESI. Okay, CJ Sims. Although we don't have CJ Sims in this class, you do have CJ Sims in other classes. And you have access to the full library of CJ Sims. Since we started CJ Sims a couple of terms ago in this program, these are excellent practice for your HESI. Well, not so much for your HESI, but for your boards. So even though we don't have community CJ Sims, I would highly suggest you try and do a couple each week. Go in and pick different patient scenarios. This community class is very med-surg focused. We do a lot of med-surg nursing in the community. And so I have students tell me when I when I debrief in week 12, you know, what helped? What did you do extra during the term that you were so successful in the class? The two answers I always get the last two terms are I went in and did CJ Sims just for practice on adult, med-surg, geriatrics, pediatrics. Went in, just did a couple of CJ Sims on my own. And then the other activity that has been done is doing some extra NCLEX questions every week. You can go into NCLEX, right, on study mode and create your own set of questions, practice questions. All right, you can do adult health, you can do pediatric health, geriatrics, maternity. So I would encourage you to go in and do extra NCLEX questions every week. Go in and do some CJ Sims. Excuse me. Paper assignments will guide the development of the professional goals relative to the profession. So you're going to have, as far as writing assignments, your 2 discussion questions, your group project's going to be a writing assignment, and your vulnerable populations is a PowerPoint. So you do have a couple of writing assignments. Okay, I've sent you an announcement about APA format. I would appreciate if you would put your work in APA format and cite your sources using APA format. Always look at the rubrics, right? That's how I grade. So before you start each assignment, please go look at the rubric and look at the specifics. Okay. APA, we just talked about that, about the announcement. These are some questions I ask. We talk about in week 12. You know, were you prepared to sit for your HESI? How did you prepare? Right? What remediation or what things could I have done to help you? So I focus on these questions in week 12. Okay? So that's the PowerPoint. What questions do you have about the PowerPoint? Anything? Okay, let's have a look at the syllabus. You guys see that? Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so this course description is pretty short. I like to go to the front page of the module, but for the syllabus purposes, this course is an introduction into, it's an introduction to promote health and wellness for individuals in diverse community-based settings. Right? We'll talk about wellness promotion, independence, interdependence, discharge planning, lots of community populations with chronic illnesses, HIV. And we'll talk about different healthcare environments in the community, outpatient clinics, home care, diagnostic-based centers. And then you'll do a community project called your Vulnerable Populations Project. This will provide you the opportunity to examine a particular vulnerable population in your community. Okay, I always like to look as well. We'll go through the longer version in a minute. So as far as your syllabus goes, you can read through the student learning outcomes on your own and your course objectives. Okay. We've already gone through quite a bit of the syllabus. Okay, here's your books right here, these 3. Okay, the 4th one is CJ Sim, which we don't have, but you all should have an account in Nurse Think for CJ Sims for your other classes. Okay, so it is listed here. Okay, but as far as the required books, these are your 3 books and the proper additions. Okay, so you have got to let me know, let your campus know, I would say no later than Monday, if you do not have access to these books. A few other things I want to point out in your reference package that you should take advantage of. This book, Calculating with Confidence. Okay, this is math. Okay, if you struggle with math, I would highly suggest that you pull this book out. Okay, we have 3 exams, 5 math questions on each exam. Okay, so you have 15 math questions. They're very simple math questions. Okay, and on the back of your exam 1 study guide that I've sent to you on the back page, it has some tips for math calculations. Okay, so there's one area that you have some information. Okay, on your study guide. The second area is here in the Calculating with Confidence. The third is I sent you an announcement that's titled Math Resource. Some of you may have Professor Bogart in pediatrics. Okay, she has a YouTube channel with a very simple math tutorial. Okay, it's Math 101. And in that particular announcement, I give you her YouTube channel, and there's 3 handouts that go with that training. It's a very simple training, very helpful. Just rave reviews from students. All right, so if you struggle with math, you've got to utilize these resources. Okay? The other 2 resources in your reference package is here, this HESI Comprehensive Review for NCLEX PN exam. Excellent resources for NCLEX. Okay? And then the last one is the Saunders. This is where you can get all your extra NCLEX questions. Students tell me all the time in week 12 when we debrief from the term, these are the 2 books they have pulled out and used over and over again. And you guys should have these, right? Do you guys have these books?
Yes.
Yeah. So those are the 2 I want to point out that come up every single term of students using these resources. Okay? Okay, we went through attendance, went through absenteeism, grading. So here's the more clearer version. Again, your 3 exams, your HESI, and your 5 quizzes, NCLEX. Each NCLEX is 4 that's broken down, 50 questions, so it's 1.25% per NCLEX assignment. Okay? And if you submit a 20, it's going to take that 1.25% way down, and that can add up at the end of the term. So please submit something in the vicinity of 45 to 50. If you submit a 20 or 30 in NCLEX, it just tells me you didn't get a lot out of that assignment. Okay? Vulnerable populations, 5%. HESI Prep, 5%. We'll talk about those in a minute. 2 case studies, each worth 2.5%. And your 2 discussion questions in group project are pass-fail. All right? Talked about the HESI. We talked about late work. Okay, so I just wanted to go through and show you how the course outline is how to read the course outline. Over here in the far left column are the course objectives and the student learning outcomes. So you can refer back to that. They're at the top of the syllabus. This column are all the concepts that are going to be covered each week. This is week 1. Okay, so the concepts to be covered here. By the way, we will review week 1 content next week. We'll do weeks 1 and 2 next week. Okay, so you won't miss out on that. But you will have 2 content recordings to get a head start on what we're covering. Middle column is what you're required to do, your readings. Okay, if you have a full chapter in one of your books, I'll show you in the module on your reading page, and each week for the modules, you'll have a PowerPoint from that chapter. So this week you have a PowerPoint from your fundamentals book, chapter 1. If you only have a page or a few pages in a chapter, you're not going to get the whole PowerPoint, which is fine. It's too much information, right? Because if you're only asked to read 2 or 3 pages, why have the whole PowerPoint for the whole chapter, right? But if you have a full chapter, you'll have a PowerPoint. This week, you're asked to take a look at Healthy People 2030. That's this website right here. And I'll show you, has anybody figured out what it says C Canvas course for this reading? Has anybody figured out where that is yet? It's embedded right in your module for that week. And I'll show you that. So a couple of weeks, we have C Canvas course. That's reading right in your module. Okay, so there's 4 pages of reading inside your module, and I'll show you that when we get to the modules. And then the far right column is what's due. Okay, so look at all the neat stuff we're going to cover this term. Right, we're going to introduction to community nursing. You're going to be experts on levels of healthcare prevention. That's your primary, secondary, and tertiary. We're going to talk about Healthy People 2030, which is a national health initiative across the country that covers a wide variety of healthcare topics. We'll also have an introduction to vulnerability. Vulnerability, we cover many vulnerable populations that exist in all of our communities. So we'll do an introduction to vulnerability. Next week, we'll talk about the school nurse role. We'll talk about growth and development. That's important because we're caring for people all across the lifespan. And then next week's discussion question is about common childhood ailments. So that aligns with covering that concept next week. Okay, you'll be picking 3 common childhood ailments. If you haven't looked ahead, you'll be picking 3 childhood ailments, and you'll be doing a discussion on each of them. Okay, next week we'll also talk about family nursing and family health risks. Weeks 3 and 4, we focus on special vulnerable populations. In week 3, we talk about the rural population, migrant farm workers, homelessness, poverty. Okay, and then week 4, we'll get into talking about pregnant teens, LGBTQ, mental illness, and alcohol, tobacco, and other drug issues. So weeks 3 and 4 are very specific, targeted vulnerable populations. Week 5, we talk about hospice and palliative care, death and dying, faith and spirituality, how that plays out in community nursing. We'll talk about ethics in the community. Week 6, we get into some specific community nurse roles, the occupational health nurse, the environmental health nurse. A lot of what we do in community health is teaching, program development, teaching. So we'll talk about some barriers to learning. How do we reinforce health education with different populations? How do we teach to different populations? Then in week 7, we go into a section about infection control, prevention, infectious disease prevention and control, where we talk about how do we track illnesses in the community. Think about the pandemic. How do we track COVID? Okay, we'll talk a lot more about COVID, but also other infectious diseases. Okay, we'll talk about HIV, TB, STDs, and we'll do a section on bioterrorism and disaster and what our role as community nurses are with regards to bioterrorism and disaster. Week 8, we'll talk about different types of community nursing. Home care. How do we care for the clients with complex chronic illnesses? And then I'll introduce case management to you. What is case management? We do case management in week 8 because a lot of the clients with complex chronic illnesses need to be case managed, meaning they need a coordinator of care to help them with all their needs. And then we'll finish up talking about human abuse and violence. And we'll finish with cultural influences in nursing. So it's a pretty packed term. And community nursing is just a big umbrella that has lots and lots of aspects to it. Any questions about the syllabus? Okay. All right, let's finish out talking about the modules. Right here in your course welcome is my bio page where it has my name. Okay, so a couple things I want to mention about the module. Let's just go through week 1, because this is where it has an example of all your Canvas readings. So when you start out going through it, your first page is going to give you the concepts. So between your announcement, your syllabus, and your weekly module, all the information's is the same. So it's not 3 different sets of information. Everything's connected in this class. Okay? And actually, when I do my weekly announcements, I copy and paste from the modules in the syllabus. I'm just providing it to you in one more place. So in your first reading page, you're going to get the concepts. Okay, the page after you get the concepts is going to be your reading page. And this is where we'll show you the PowerPoint. So for example, you have 1 chapter to read in fundamentals, the full chapter. Med-Surg book, you only have 1 page. So down here in your reading resources, here's where you're going to get that PowerPoint because you have a full chapter. But notice you don't have a PowerPoint for this because you only have a page. Okay? So like I said, you're going to get PowerPoints if you have full chapters. There's not a lot of full chapters in this course. There's a lot of breakout with certain pages and different chapters. Okay? And then here again, you have your Healthy People 2030 website. And when it says See Canvas course, you just click next. These 4 bullets are embedded right in the next 4 pages. So your Introduction to Community Health Nursing, Levels of Healthcare Prevention. So I'm just pointing out when it says See Canvas course, here's where they are. And we'll cover this next week. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Couple things I want to point out. I'm going all the way down to week 9 to start out with because I want to show you this HESI prep assignment. Everybody write this down. I want you to pull off this HESI prep assignment and download the document this weekend. Okay? This document is something you should be working on all term. And it's exactly what it says it is. It's your HESI prep. Okay, so you are going to be creating, whoops, I can't, why is that there? Okay, you are going to be creating your study guide for your HESI. Okay, so this seems long. It has a lot of boxes on the left-hand side. It's broken out into concepts. The first is a bioterrorism section. There's a disaster section. These are things we will cover in class, or concepts we'll cover in class. There is a large section on health promotion and teaching. All different boxes with information. Okay. Then there is I spent some time in this because this is an important assignment. There's a home health section. And a vulnerable populations. So what this represents is topics covered on the HESI. Okay, I do not know what the questions on the HESI are. I don't do the HESI. HESI is done like NCLEX. It's pulled from a large bank. But I do know the topics that are asked about. And so I've created this document for you. Okay, so we know there's going to be a question about anthrax. We know there's going to be a question about disaster planning. We know there's going to be a question about natural disaster preparedness, flu surveillance, SARS, on and on. Okay. I will be covering the concepts in this HESI prep, but I'm not going to be covering every box because a lot of it is where you have to pull from your med surg experience, your peds experience, your Jerry experience. Okay, and that's when I say this course and these exams and this HESI, very med surg focused, peds focused, Jerry focused, maternity, because remember, we're bringing everything together. We could be caring for any of those populations in the community, right? So like, let's look at the home care, home promotion and teaching. Okay, lipid screening, that's going to be med surg. Conjunctivitis will cover in this course, but your heart healthy diet, that's going to be in Jerry. Elder health assessment, Jerry. So you have your 3 books. Okay, so you can do one of 2 things. You can be filling this out during the term as we go and cover certain topics. Or you can work ahead and go do your own research and investigation and what you want to put in these boxes. I want to go through the directions. Okay. You're going to get out of this assignment what you put in. If you wait till week 9 and pull up this blank document and say, oh my gosh, what week did we cover bioterrorism? What week did we cover disaster? Oh my gosh, what week did we cover health promotion and teaching? It's going to be a long assignment for you to do. I really encourage you to use this as a work in progress so that by the time you get to week 9, you submit it. Does that make sense?
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Go ahead.
So can we like download this and type on it and then
Yeah.
upload it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I would suggest you save it to your desktop. Okay. So there's no right or wrong information. Well, there's no exact way to do this. Okay. So for example, some people put a few sentences in there, other put a few paragraphs in there. Okay. What do we want to know about anthrax? Well, let's think about it. As you complete this assignment, please use the nursing process. I'm reading up here. Use your ADPI guidelines, right? Each topic will require critical thinking of how to apply the nursing process from assessment to evaluation. Okay, so I get a lot of questions about this assignment. And what the best way I can explain it is when you get to your exams, and especially when you get to HESI, it is assumed that you know what anthrax is, right? So the questions you're being asked, remember our new next gen format, is taking your knowledge and applying it to clinical judgment. Does that make sense? So let's take anthrax, for example. HESI is assuming you know what anthrax is. So let's say you're presented, let's think nursing concept. I don't need you to list out A, D, P, I, E in every box. Okay. I want you to be able to articulate to yourself in these answers, how would I assess a potential anthrax? Somebody that might have been exposed to anthrax. Let's think about it. Maybe what might they be presenting with? Right? What interventions are we going to need to do? So basically, how do we take care of a client that has a potential anthrax exposure? and everything that goes along with that. Disaster communication. I don't know. Let's think about this. Well, we know that communication, whether it's in the prepare stage, whether it's in the impact stage, what's in the recovery stage, what do we think is going to be, as a nurse, what's going to be effective communication? Right? Does everybody know what to do? I would put maybe the mass casualty exercises in disaster communication, right? What is important for you as a nurse as you think about disaster communication? What needs to happen? Flu surveillance. Well, let's think about flu surveillance. We should know what flu surveillance is, but maybe if we think about the nursing process, why are we surveilling? Who are we surveilling? Are there maybe more at-risk populations? How do we surveil them? Is this where we encourage flu vaccines? Maybe for the vulnerable, for the more at-risk populations? Again, there's no exact way to do this. The expectation is that you have an understanding of what is SARS. What will we look for? And how do we assess a SARS? How will we implement whatever the treatment is? How will we evaluate that that treatment's been successful? Does that make sense? And I really need you to understand this, because I don't want you to look at this assignment and say, oh my God, that looks like, really tedious, awful assignment. It's not. And let me tell you something. When I debrief in week 12 with students, they tell me over and over again, this was the best prep assignment, hands down. Because when they got to the HESI, there was a SARS question. There was a vertical transmission question. There was a lipid screening question, right? And remember, this isn't 100% accurate. There's always, give or take, I think around 5-10 questions that are added in or deleted. There's always new questions, but they're always within the concept of health promotion and teaching, of epidemiology, of bioterrorism or disaster. So if you have a good foundational knowledge about these concepts and there's a new question, you understand the concept, you'll be fine. So I cannot encourage you any more than to get this on your desktop and look at it every couple of weeks. Fill in what you can fill in if you want to do it as we go. If you want to work ahead and look in your books, all the information you need for every one of these boxes is either in your maternity peds book, your med-surg book, or your fundamentals book. You don't need to Google anything. It's all there. Students have told me it's all there. Okay? And remember, this is worth 5%, so this is a big chunk. And it's not due till week 9. Okay? So that's that assignment. Any questions about that? The other one I want to mention, and you have to go to week 9 to download this, because that's when it's due. Okay? Then I want you to go to week 10. You have a vulnerable populations project. This is also worth 5%. Okay, this is a PowerPoint. This is a research project. You are essentially picking it's kind of a extended version of your first discussion question. Okay, you're picking a vulnerable population. I give you a whole bunch of examples here. And you can go outside of this. But there's a good starting point. You pick a vulnerable population in your zip code, not teen pregnancy across the country or homelessness across the country. I want homeless in Centerville, teen pregnancy in Scranton, okay, in your zip code. And it's basically a research paper. And what does this vulnerable population look like in your community? Okay, talk about the population in detail. You may need to call the health department. You may need to get on your public health website and get statistics. If you look at the rubric, population description, health risks, resources, service gaps. That's a summary of the assignment right here. But look at the rubric. This is what specifically you need. Okay? So those two assignments are open now. I opened them the first day of class. Okay, all the other assignments except your group project, this project, your HESI prep, and your group project are all open now. Your group project is in week 7. I have those all open for you now. Everything else, just so you know, I don't encourage working ahead. That's why I don't open anything until the Monday of the week it's due. But this is your third assignment that is open now. Don't worry about this right now for a couple of weeks, okay? I'm not even going to send out the groups for a couple of weeks. Okay, this is a group assignment that is due in week 7. I'll try and send out the groups to maybe week 3. I try and keep you in groups in your campuses. I try. Doesn't always work out exactly that way, but I try. So that if you're on campus, you can work on it. Basically, I assign you a group. I assign you infectious disease. 4 people in a group, usually. And everybody just takes, let's say I assign you pertussis. Okay, there's 5 sections. Introduction history, who's affected, symptoms pathology, cure, treatment, and how is a person's daily life affected by it. So when I send out your groups, somebody take the lead, send out an email. Hi, I'm Casey. This is our group. Which part of the rubric do you want to do? Then you put together a paper and everybody submits the same paper at the end. Okay? So those are the 3 big assignments I wanted to mention. Those are all open now, but don't worry about the group just yet. The rest in the case studies, the NCLEX, the, what else? Are all open on the Monday of the week. Okay? What else do I want to mention about the modules? Our exams are in weeks 4, 7, and 10. Oh, I know what I want to mention. Our exams are in weeks 4, 7, and 10. This is in your week 1 announcement. I'm like a color coordinated nut. I like to color coordinate stuff. So you'll see a lot of that from me. So exam 1 is all highlighted in yellow. Okay, so the week before your exam. So in week 3 for exam 4, in week 5 for exam 6, in week 9 for exam 10, for exam 3 in week 10, we do live exam reviews. And here's all the dates. I like to get this out to you at the beginning of the term so you can plan. Plan your work schedules, plan your family schedules, plan whatever, school schedules. Okay? So we offer 3 live reviews. If you can't get to them, you'll get all 3 recordings. Okay? So you have those recordings. So I just wanted to point that out to you. The other thing I want to point out, I know I'm being mindful of time. I know I only have 5 more minutes. I've already sent you out in your week 1 announcement, your study guide for exam 1. I know it looks blank. It is. I want you to build this during your weekly lectures. So if you want to pull this out during your weekly lectures and take notes on this, that's fine. Okay? I have outlined the week 1, and this comes right from your syllabus. I've outlined your week 1 concepts, your week 2 concepts, and your week 3. But don't forget to look at the bottom. That's the math I told you I put in there for you. Here's some quickie tips on your drip calculations. How to set up an infusion time. Okay?
And so this outline, this is basically what the exam will be over.
Yep. And then I have notes in here. I have my own version of this, but I have, and I do this at the review. I don't do it ahead of time. I do it at the review where it's going to say, it's going to have 6 bullets. It's going to say, review the difference between community-based and community-oriented nursing. Review this, review that, review that. I don't do that now. I wait till the exam review because that's how I do my review. I say, okay, you guys, what's the difference between community-based and, you know what? I go through what I already have pre-filled in here. That's my review. Does that make sense? So your job is what did you learn about community nursing? From your readings, from your concept recordings, from your quizzes. That's the other thing is quizzes. After you take the quizzes, I do a lot of teaching from the quizzes because I make up the quizzes. So I try and touch on every concept, at least ask a question or two about each concept. And so then I do my teaching on that concept from those quiz questions. Does that make sense? So it's not that we don't want to have this all filled in for you. I want you to fill this in and see what you've learned. And then once you come to the review or listen to the recording and see what I want you to review, hopefully it's bang, bang, bang. You know what I've asked you to review. Okay? So that's the course in a nutshell. Now, what do you think? An hour and a half later, you feel a bit more settled about the class?
Somewhat.
I know you guys are tired. I know you are.
That was a lot.
I know. But was it a decent overview?
Yes.
Great overview. It's just a lot.
I know. But you know what? Here's what I say about community. If you can carve out a little bit of time each week and get your community work done, okay? And then focus on your other classes.
That's why I think you should unlock the assignments because
Nope.
if
Nope.
I'm being locked and then we cramming them in all at one time.
Well, actually, I have unlocked the assignments that are due in weeks 9 and 10. And listen, guys, once we get to week 8, everything's manageable. If you haven't started working on 9 and 10 and then 11 HESI, it's going to be a very busy end. Let me tell you why. Once we get to week 9, how much time do I have? 1 minute. Once we get to week 9, you have an NCLEX, you have a case study, you have review sessions for exam 10, and you have your HESI prep. That's a busy week 9. Jump to week 10. You have your vulnerable populations assignment. You have an exam. Jump to week 11. You're right into HESI.
So
say
with
this.
us having a quiz next week, is that going to be over fundamentals chapter 1 and med surge page 123? Like as long as we read that, we should feel
Yep.
prepared for next week's
Nope,
quiz.
but I sent out an announcement. It's weeks 1 and 2. So you've got to do your prep work for week 2, which you don't have the announcement yet. I haven't sent it. I'll send it over the weekend. I sent an announcement about quizzes, which week each quiz is and what weeks it covers. So quiz 1 next week covers weeks 1 and 2 content. Quiz 2 in week 3 covers just week 3. It's all in an announcement. And again, if you listen to the concept recording, do your readings, and have a look at the PowerPoint, you're going to be fine. And if you take some time at the beginning of the term and work on that end of the term stuff, it's going to be a lot easier. Students that haven't done anything up until week 9, they get to week 9 and say, I can't do it. Way too much. Weeks 9, 10, and 11. They just roll into each other. Okay? Does anybody have any questions?
Just to be sure, we don't get a break for this class, right? Like it's an hour, 40 minutes, no break.
Which is why we're going to end 10 minutes early.
Okay, got it.
Is that right? And everybody's okay with that? Okay.
Yes.
Remember, to reach out to me if you already haven't, if you're repeat or reentry. Listen, I will stay on for questions, but I promised, and now I'm 1 minute over. Not good. I hope everybody has a good weekend. It was really nice to meet you. I'm really looking forward to being with you all for this class. And I am here to support you to get everybody over the finish line. We can do this, okay? This is not a hard class. We just got to keep up. Carve out a little bit of time each week. Get your community work done and move on. Lindsay, if you would just stay on after, I have a question for you.
I'm gonna stay on as well. I have
Yeah,
a question.
okay, yeah. All right, everybody have a good weekend. Nice to meet you. Okay, reach out if you need anything, okay?